Hello, welcome to the AppleInsider Podcast. I'm William Gallagher. Our sponsors this week are Claude by Anthropic, Nord Stellar by Nord Security, and Udacity. More about them later. Now, I am joined as ever by Wes Hilliard, and I'm not going to say that he has brought me over to the dark side. I remain a Mac obsessive, but it is true that this week, the single most exciting thing I thought was the tiniest touch of a faint rumour of something that might come to iPad, an app or two or more that might come. And I'm so excited by it that actually I haven't got around to updating iOS yet. Whereas Wes, you update everything right away, don't you?
Generally, yeah. So we had 26.1 this week, so I'm on the public release. So I did not start the beta cycle for me because there's not enough there to be compelling. We can talk about 26.2, but yeah, 26.1, nice and stable. It's here. I'm happy to say that nothing exploded, no HomePod's caught on fire, so good to go.
Is it true that there's a turn liquid glass off button now?
You know, I keep hearing this, and I actually haven't even looked at it. I understand what the idea is, but I don't fully get it. Where can I find this button?
Yeah, that's why I was asking you, because isn't it amazing? The two of us don't seem to care about this. I'm perfectly happy with liquid
quite like
glass,
it.
But yeah. Only in the sense that when I go back to an old machine, I'm very conscious that it doesn't feel right, doesn't feel modern anymore. But some people apparently object. Have you found it?
I'm swapping the button, and it is doing nothing to my dock, so that's great. Which is the most liquid glassy thing here. The icons don't change. It does look like it's very specific elements. So let's see. I'm going to go to the website. Clear, tinted. It is such a subtle change. Almost, I would almost argue this is liquid glass dark mode. I actually like that. The suggestion people seem to be making is that it's turning it doesn't seem to really be doing anything. It's literally tinting it darker, so you have a greater contrast if you have white text inside of the liquid glass. Like, I can still see color transposing through it. Like from what I've heard, I'm glad that I'm doing this live on the show, because from what I've heard from a lot of people discussing this, it's as if people are saying, oh, Apple is giving up on liquid glass already. They're turning it off. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, it's identical. It's just, I think it's a shade darker, which I like just because I like dark mode. So I'm going to try this for a while. I'm going to leave this on.
We should probably, let's not spend the entire show pressing buttons on here, but it occurs to me that maybe different elements of liquid glass are more obviously off. Like, for quite a while, I had my dock completely transparent until I couldn't find anything. Maybe that is an element that's been changed. So that's our homework for the week. Every appearance option everywhere. Yeah, we'll just bluff and say it was fine, really. Also in iOS 26.1, there's more Apple Intelligence languages, I think, but nothing else. But talking of Apple Intelligence, I can't believe I'm just going to say, yeah, iOS 26.1, that's it, we're done. Tell us about 0.2. But I just have. Actually, I tell you what, just to try to build up some suspense here, let's say for a second first that we should mention AppleInsider Plus, the extended and ad-free version of the podcast. This week, it's like you've been working in front of these screens all day and you cannot take another minute in front of a glowing display. And so instead, you spend the next few hours in front of the same screens, just, watching video, playing games, reading books, all of that. AppleInsider Plus, we'll start with what do we turn to first, or maybe most often, but then also about the little fiddly bits. Like, for example, I was just telling Wes a minute ago, this weekend I need to watch a new Blu-ray on my iPad. It is possible. It can be done. Is it worth it? I'll find out, and we'll talk about it a little bit in AppleInsider Plus. But now it is time. iOS 26.2 to hit the spotlight. Actually, I was going to say, what are the rumors about this? But ever since Apple Intelligence was announced, it seems to me that Apple's been absurdly upfront about what's coming when, or what they're aiming to come out when. So do we know what's coming in 26.2?
So just what's in the beta. Obviously, more could come. Things could get taken away.
Of course.
So first we see that if you choose the glass option on your lock screen, you can kind of affect how glassy it is with the slider. So I guess Apple's experimenting in more places with how liquid glass is presented and what users want. I think this is more of a customization option than a trend towards something more system-wide, because again, this is only for the lock screen when you're choosing the clock font. So
Right.
Apple News got rearranged, which I like, but also I wish it was different. They took sports out of the bottom, which makes sense, and moved it to
Excellent.
a bar in the top above top stories. So now when you open your Apple News in a iPhone setting, because you just have a sidebar on iPad and see everything, but on an iPhone you get this top bar in the default view with sports, puzzles, politics, business, and food, which used to be the subcategories you saw only when you opened the search tab. So now you have a top level view, because I want to get to puzzles pretty quickly. Generally, if it were up to me, Apple should let me put puzzles in that bottom section. I would bump audio, because I listen to Apple News audio, but in Apple Podcasts, not the Apple News app.
Right.
So I'm never using that tab. So let me put puzzles there instead. And now we have a new news, like they changed how the search field works. Like it's interesting. I'm here for it. Anything you can do to make Apple News better, great. But this still doesn't fix the ad problem.
I've realised actually you're saying that that perhaps foolishly I had not realised the beta of 26.2 was out, because like you, I'm no longer in the beta cycle, but also I'm actually a couple of publics behind. I just it works now, leave it kind of thing. I should try this out, because I still have a faint hope that News will one day have puzzles here in the UK as well. But it does seem unlikely. I recipes. Said excellent when you said about. Oh no, we've got recipes. We have the food stuff. That is so good.
Your beans and toast. You can learn how to make beans and toast, right?
Right.
What do you eat there?
I'm just looking at you now.
Well, I mean, UK food always looks so ugly to me, so I'm just pointing that out.
Deep fried Mars bars, that's one thing. I saw Suzanne Vega in concert over the weekend, and she mentioned a British boyfriend when she was very young, talking to her about English breakfasts and how you have tomatoes and mushrooms. And she said it sounded so exotic and things, and never heard it's called that before. But I do more than beans on toast. Okay, I'm just looking at you about this.
Okay.
Now, we have the food stuff. I like it. I'm actually more a paprika user than food, but I keep meaning to try out some of the curries. I
wish Apple would. I don't know. It's always the stuff with me, because I like what Apple does, and I'm very much in on first party stuff. But also, I wish Apple, because the reason why this exists in the first place, what I'm about to say, is it was kind of a legacy concept that isn't done anymore. But when Apple started making their own apps, Calendar, iCal, it was a standard. It's universal. Other apps can tap into your calendar. You go to reminders. It's universal, but like one switch to the left from universal. There's some things missing. The different views can't be viewed in third-party apps, but you can surface reminders in third-party apps. I can have a app like a grocery app. I think it's actually called Groceries. And it can create a grocery list in reminders and populate it and organize it, but it doesn't get access to like the new categories and what's the word? What's the word for the columns view?
Oh, the no, not Kanban.
Kanban, yeah. So like you don't get the Kanban view. So like Apple Reminders is a universal thing, API you can tap into as a developer, but you don't get all of it. And then you go surface deeper. Music, you can create third-party players and organize your music catalog, but it still has to play from Apple Music unless you want to lose a bunch of features, and so on and so forth. Right. So like that's like the more modern the feature set, the less universal it gets. And then you look at, wouldn't it be interesting if there was an API for developers to create a new interface for the puzzles, right? Let me have a puzzles app that I can open directly and it take me to the Apple News puzzles and let me interact with them in that way. Or have a interface like you said, you use Paprika and there's a Crouton and there's Food Noms and all these apps that have recipes in them. Let me have an API that connects those apps directly with Apple News recipes. Why not? You know, I understand that it's complicated and I'm not the one coding this stuff, but I feel like that universal nature of tying apps together, what was the word Apple used to use? It's not an add-on, an extension. Is like these app extensions, that whole concept kind of died about a decade ago, and I kind of liked that, actually.
About 5 years ago now, something I was required for whatever reason to review, I think it was 7 iPhone calendar apps. And during that process, I was profoundly grateful to Apple for iCal because every one of them used the iCal engine for it. So I could swap back and forth in mid-event. Everything was fine for it. But I like the fact that that's there. I'm actually seeing some syncing problems between it and Fantastical, which is bothering me. Reminders, I am less keen on, particularly because of that. Do you know, is it Kanban? I've already forgotten.
Yes.
That view feels like a bit of a kludge to me. It's not a proper Kanban one. Yeah, it's not right.
Perfect. Yeah. So Apple should take it a step further.
I don't care that it isn't in another apps.
Sure.
Yeah, do it or not, but I feel like that's somewhere where they were wedging something in, and that's unusual.
For an example that has come up recently, I think I mentioned it in the last episode for some reason, but I randomly stumbled upon these smart calendars. I still haven't purchased one. I don't know that I will because I talked to the wife and she really likes her chalkboard where she gets to write the calendar out and do doodles. So if I buy a digital calendar, it's going to hang in my office or something. But so I found a couple of different companies that do this, and interestingly, they all do iCal right out of the box because it's such a universal standard. It's like contact cards; it's just there. But then they also offer task lists, which is reminders, right? But they don't tap into the reminders API. So if you use this separate system, your chores list, your tasks list, your assignments, all of that stuff is locked inside of that app to that calendar. The developer has an option to adopt Apple Reminders, but they're not going to. Not unless someone very bespoke decided to build an app for it. And these companies are not that. They're much more what's the word? Like they're higher level business. They're not thinking about things like this isn't an indie business with a guy in a garage. This is a full on, like probably has investor money type business. So they're not thinking about this stuff. But yeah, no reminder support. So I'm like, I like the idea of a calendar, but I want to use all the features. So I feel dumb buying this calendar and not even bothering with the reminder system because I'm not going to use this stupid smart calendar's built-in chore system. So
I take it that it's not two-way reminders connection, but is there anything like OmniFocus, for example, my beloved to-do app of choice, if you tell it to, it will keep an eye on reminders. So you use one of Apple's Siri things and whatever it is, add to reminders. Next time you open OmniFocus, it will just scoop those up, bring it into it. I don't believe, or at least I've never wanted it to, push anything back. Is there no chance that this calendar thing can suck it up, basically?
They're ignoring it. They just don't care. Because I think it's also more universal, so it has to work with Android as well. Therefore, they're just that side of the ecosystem is just completely gone. I'm sure what it actually is more of a web app anyway, if you had to dig through the code base. But anyway, that's a distraction. iOS 26.2 has an interesting feature here for listeners. I'm very excited about.
I got to say, I'm still on I said excellent to you when you said sport had moved, because I'll never use sport. But now it sounds like it's in my face more. I'm turning against Apple News because of this. But go on, try to convince me.
Oh,
what do you
moving
like?
on from Apple News, I do think Apple should change different app entirely. Apple TV has a MLS section, which is silly. Turn that into sports, and I would be fine. But why is it just MLS? And why is it in the sidebar? And why can I not remove it? Even if I don't pay anyway. So Apple Podcasts has this new feature automatic episode chapters. I'm sure this is an AIE kind of feature. They're not really calling it that, at least that I can tell, but they're automatically generating chapters. And this is why I think it's AI, or Apple Intelligence in that vernacular, is because the previous updates to Apple Podcasts, this is what we've got recently. We got full transcripts, right? And those transcripts are being generated by Apple Intelligence. I think what's happening now is it's using context clues to generate chapter markers and name the chapters inside of Apple Podcasts. And they're taking it a step further. This is great. It's going to attach links to other podcast mentions to where they're mentioned in the show notes. And I believe it's also giving editors the ability to attach buttons you can press during the show to links you're mentioning in that moment. I may have gotten that crossed, but if that's the case, that would be very interesting.
It does sound great, but I am slightly amused by the idea that maybe it works by looking for the word chapter in it, in which case would it have just added 17 chapters in the last 2 minutes to this one?
No, I don't think it's that specific. Obviously it's probably doing a wider context view, but I wonder if it would work automatically. Like, do we need to, I mean, we work on you make our chapters for the show, but it does make you wonder, should we give it a shot for, not now because it's not out yet, but should we give it a shot a couple of episodes and see what it automatically generates for our listeners? But then, of course, Overcast and other podcast listeners wouldn't be able to take advantage of that. But
that's a good point. I was about to say, yes, of course we must try it, but other users.
Maybe we just don't give them that metadata for Apple Podcasts and we give it to everybody else.
That makes sense. So basically, I just do the work anyway. I can tell you that there must be quite a substantial change behind the scenes because I didn't know all of that detail, what you said, but I did know Apple emailed me this week saying I had to go back through the legal forms and agree to the terms and conditions for podcasts again because of chapter changes for it. So it must be untrivial legally, but we'll see if it's useful later. You're saying AI. When we say AI, really we mean Apple Intelligence. And actually, that is something I particularly want to talk to you about this week because I don't know that it'll be out in time when this podcast releases, but I know you are working on an article I am really waiting to read on Apple Insider, all about Apple Intelligence. And I don't know where you're going with it. So can you give us a sneak peek?
Well, I wasn't sure where I was going with it either because I've written a couple like this before. The genesis was, so we got this report from Mark Gurman at Bloomberg that did the usual, which is very frustrating because I understand that there is a chance that I am wrong here, which is fine. If I am wrong, I am happy to admit that I am wrong and learn where this went wrong. But I very seriously and have all the confidence in the world here because it doesn't make sense otherwise. It really does not. Of what is Apple doing with Apple Intelligence? What is the plan? And the reason why I keep pushing back against how this is being discussed in larger media is because they're contradicting themselves constantly, including Bloomberg. So the headline, let me see if I can find the headline for this real quick because it's always interesting how they tackle this. But the headline's basically, Apple is going to let Google be the backbone of Siri, which is not true.
Unlikely?
It's just not true. It's not even held up by the piece. Because later in the piece, let's see. Yeah. Okay, see, the headline's less, maybe they changed the headline because they do that. That's an SEO thing you can do. But right now the headline is, Apple nears $1 billion a year deal to use Google AI for Siri.
Oh, that's interesting phrasing. You could read that as in place of Siri or instead as a feature that Siri will use. That's interesting writing. Okay.
Yeah, so they do it again. We have Bloomberg AI summarizing at the top. 1.2 trillion parameter AI model developed by Google to help power Apple's overhaul of the voice assistant. So again, like depending on how you read that is your interpretation. But if you read the actual text, there's literal disclaimers in the text that says this is not on device, this is private cloud compute, and that it will not have access to the system, iOS, period. Like, so this is not the back end of, like, so you look at all of these articles of Apple gives up on developing its own AI and asks Google to fix its problems. It's just not true. Yeah. Even the article they're referencing, they're writing. So like Apple Insider, right? We'll see Bloomberg, right? Mark Gurman, he gives has some very good inside info. So we are going to cover it and we're going to write about it and give it context for our readers. Not everyone has access to Bloomberg, so we're doing that service. Everyone in the industry more or less does this, and they're going to put their own spin on it. They're going to tackle it from their own approach. But almost universally, I think there was 2 exceptions. I think The Verge, interestingly enough, did not follow this path, which I applaud The Verge for. They've done some really good reporting on this lately. But nearly everyone else said Google will be powering Siri. That is not the phrasing that I would use here. So my story, what I wanted to write, because I'm not attacking Mark Gurman, and it's not his fault. The industry is so devised around financial and investment that it's going to always be more beneficial to write a salacious headline. It's always going to be more beneficial to make it look like Apple is struggling and that they don't know what they're doing and they're losing all of this talent and their AI is behind and yada yada. Like that's, of course they're going to pitch it that way. That's how they make money as a business. Now, but if you actually care about this stuff, it's frustrating because it's just not true. It's not matching what's real. So my story is more about what is happening here. What is Apple actually doing? We've discussed it here on the show. I don't need to go in a lot of detail. You got to just go read the article. It's going to be out Thursday. So by the time this is published, it'll be public. So we'll try to get in the show notes at the very least. But Apple is going to, and if that sum of money is true, fine. It doesn't matter. Google gives them $10 billion. They're just basically trading the same money back and forth at this point. But Apple paying is a significant thing. We're in that stage of AI right now as companies are expecting pay. I believe, who is it? Perplexity just did a deal with Snap for a bunch of money. And that was the first lucrative deal that they've ever made where someone's paying them for access to their AI, which isn't even their AI. And then like Claude is doing a system with somebody. It's just all these companies are now looking for money outside of consumers, which is interesting. It's a big shift in the way AI has been going, and another sign of that bubble getting closer to popping. But Apple giving Google money to have access. Basically, it's renting Google Gemini, a version of it. It is not the Google Gemini that you would use through the app or web service or whatever. It is a model specifically built to run on private cloud compute that would be in Apple's servers. Google would never have access to data that passes through it. It'd be completely private. The only thing is it's like a white label at that point. Apple is using that model for outsourcing to the web, right? So Apple Intelligence, the Apple Foundation models, as they're called, would still be everything. It would be the LLM-backed Siri that we're getting in the spring. It would be the back end of how Apple Intelligence and your assistant is going to call out to app intents on the device. And everything else is still Apple Foundation, period. And there's no indication of that. Even in the Bloomberg article, says as much. So Gemini is not taking over. What it is doing, as we've discussed before, is it is Apple. You can say, this is the example I gave. What music venues? I'm sorry. What live music is available when my plane lands next week? Is a query you could ask. The on-device Apple Intelligence would take that and use app intents to access your flight data from either a flight app or an email or a text, learn where you're going, when your flight's landing, get all that itinerary information, create a query from that, and then pass it to Google Gemini in private cloud compute. Then Gemini would take that as a brand new query, again, privately, because this is in Apple servers, without any affiliation with Google at this point. And it would take that information and run the Google web agent, basically, the web agent of Gemini, to go and fetch, all right, you're at this place, this location at this time, what venues are available, doing that type of AI agentic search, gathering and collating that data, bringing it back as a package, and then handing it over to Apple Intelligence for it to, again, further collate, summarize, and then pass to the user in some fashion, right? So Gemini is just a piece of the puzzle. It is not the whole. It is not even a greater part of the whole. It is a tool in the process. And I find it frustrating when I see people are like, Apple's given up on Apple Intelligence, Google wins or whatever. It's very silly.
This episode is brought to you by Claude by Anthropic. Here's a very serious example of how I use Claude AI. Just now, someone on TV mentioned having a thing called a shower dome. I suppose I could have Googled it, but what I would have got would have been results on where to buy them. And instead, Claude just told me straight what the term meant, plus why people choose to get them. Or then there's this. This morning, I was designing a magazine, and one writer requires a really quite lengthy, complex table at the end of her article. But what I'd been provided with, it was like it was a screen grab of a table. It was low resolution, tiny file size. You could read it, you could make it out, but there was no way you could publish it. So I asked Claude to make a HTML table out of that image. I dragged the screenshot in, and I watched as it did exactly that. And then, when it was done, Claude previewed that HTML for me, and it was so crisp, so clear, I took a screen grab of the preview, and that is what has gone in the magazine. Now, okay, it would always have been better if the original image were good enough. Of course it was. But without Claude, I would have been typing in something around 80 rows and 6 columns of text. Claude is the AI for minds that don't stop at good enough. It's the collaborator that actually understands your work and thinks with you, not for you. Whether you're debugging code at midnight or strategizing your next business move, Claude extends your thinking to tackle the problems that matter. Ready to tackle bigger problems? Sign up for Claude today and get 50% off Claude Pro when you use my link, claude.ai/AppleInsider. That's all lowercase, claude.ai/AppleInsider. Go there right now for 50% off your first 3 months of Claude Pro. That includes access to all of the features I've just mentioned and we've talked about in today's episode. Claude.ai/AppleInsider. And thanks to Claude by Anthropic for supporting the Apple Insider podcast as well as helping me out with the magazine. Well, a couple of obvious thoughts. One is I'm relieved, actually, that AI firms are looking for money. After all the money they've spent on the books that they've ripped off over the years, the ripping they've done of the web, I've been concerned for them, particularly Perplexity, which is my...
ChatGPT is asking the United States government for some billions of dollars right now. So, I mean, that's where we are in the AI industry, if you didn't know.
Right, I didn't know that. I'm sure they want to do it to pay out to authors. That'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah. Won't in any way compensate for the actual damage, but there you go. And the other thing, of course, is you are so right about clickbait headlines and things. And just to be clear, the chapter work this week is by me, and this current chapter is going to be Was Tim Cook on the Grassy Knoll? Okay, that's just where I'm going to go with this. Yeah?
I want you to edit Cook with a sniper rifle.
Okay, no, I feel that's going too far. We're a bit more subtle.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm actually starting to find genuine uses again for AI in general. I mean, I ignore all of the writing tool stuff that's worthless to me. But I'll tell you one example, just because it's us, right? I'm working on a project where I have been sent some really incredibly detailed tables or something that I have to put into a magazine for a charity. But the originals I've been sent, it's like a screen grab of something, a photograph from across the room. It's just unreadable and tiny. And I passed it into an AI agent and said, make me a HTML version. It did. All
Yes.
perfectly correct. And then I took a screenshot of its preview of that, and I've used it. So my alternative pre-AI would have been to type out 70 rows and 8 columns of data for something. So for all that I will diss AI every now and again, it's a fine thing.
Well,
and when we're all through this, when the bubbles burst, that's what we'll be left with, I hope.
Well, so that's the thing, is it's a useful tool set when used properly. A hammer hammers nails, right? As long as you're using the tool for the job, it does do a good job. I very much actually enjoy a lot of these AI features that are coming, and we can't put the horses back in the barn as far as the grand theft of data and information from the web that has been done. So me saying this does not endorse that action, but again, we can't undo that. But what has resulted of that theft is a handful of tools that can do things that help us be better workers. It's improving certain things. It's making us able to focus on the work we care about and get us away from the things that we don't necessarily need to spend time on. So I don't think you're losing anything by not spending an hour building a table in HTML, right? You're not less of a person because of that. Versus I don't think I don't think people should be replacing every aspect of their life with AI, including how to have conversations or romantic interests or how to create art. There's definitely a way to do too much AI, and people are still very much in that mode. But when this bubble does pop, what's going to be interesting is what's left will definitely be Apple, because they're not going anywhere. In reference to this whole thing, this whole debacle, we talk about Bloomberg and how they, their job as writers at Bloomberg is to, I'm saying this in the nicest way possible, but manipulate the stock market. Their job
allegedly. They've just pop in the word allegedly.
That's not what I mean, right? Like their job is to They're incentivized to write in a way that will get them more accreditation if the stock moves based on their writing. Let's put it that way. So of course they're going. Yes, and that's true, and it's true. It's just true. That's just how they work. So of course they're going to go for more salacious headlines. Of course they're going to go for more drama. Every departure from Apple Intelligence division is the end of. It's the death knell of Apple. They're never going to survive this. They've lost 13 people, I think, in the course of a year to Meta giving people $200 million apiece. Yeah, I don't think it's that big a deal.
And then leaving. Yeah.
And then immediately leaving Meta after they get their paycheck, yes.
I think there is an argument you could say that actually Bloomberg and places like it are practically duty bound to report things that would affect the stock markets. So there's a not even a grey line. There's a grey shade between them all. But
so Bloomberg, well, not to pick on them too much, but because I have a point here. But there's this thing called a Bloomberg terminal you can buy and put in your house. It costs an ungodly amount of money. I don't even know. Just don't worry about it. It's an insane amount of money. And it lets you get Bloomberg articles some amount of minutes before everyone else on Earth. So that way you can go and do a stock trade before it becomes public news. And the reason why that's important is because in the piece that we read, you can see on the moment it's published, because they already know this, the stock has moved ... upon the publication of this article, because since they published it to the Bloomberg terminal, people have already done trades because of that article. And now when it goes public, they can say the terminal has caused the stock to move this much, and you would have been able to make this much money had you had a Bloomberg terminal. So again, they are incentivized to not only move the stock, but because it's all part of it. So when we look at AI and how the industry is formed and been monetized over the past 4 years, it's all been about big names, big flashy moments, the end of humanity as we know it type stuff, leading to these giant stock moves, which is now, I think, the GDP of the United States, like some 20% is due to AI growth in the last year, which is very, very scary. Because when that bubble pops, that's 20% that's going to disappear. Anyway, all that said, Apple is just, with Apple Intelligence, with its little writing tools that everyone says is the worst thing to ever be done on planet Earth, and it's just so sad, and Apple's behind, just said that they're going to have the best quarter ever in the history of the company next quarter, their holiday quarter, in spite of not having the most groundbreaking. Why is this, William? It's because they sell things that you can go buy and hold and use in your hand, that's real and tangible, that people are desiring and want. Whereas this AI stuff, this grift that's falling off very quickly, is ephemeral, and it will soon become a feature instead of a headline. And I think Apple's going to end up on top on all of this. That's the most interesting thing about this story, is as this bubble's about to pop, whether it pops or not before April, before we get this new LLM-based Siri and all these new features, doesn't matter, because Apple already made their money on selling products. And they can step out on stage and say, hey, yeah, that bubble's popping and no one's investing anymore, but guess what? We don't need your investor money. We're just going to use the technology for what it's for, give the users something that they can use, improve their lives, and do so ethically with green energy. And we're going to own the entire AI ecosystem by having multiple AIs within private cloud compute. Like, it is an incredible strategy that it doesn't seem like anyone is really even talking about in that light anyway.
To be fair, you have said a lot of that for at least the last year. I think so. You were the first person I knew that's kind of was. I was pro Apple because they've got things right before, and I like their approach. But you were more specific about it, and it does seem. I'm just flattering you now. As time goes by, that your specificity was more right than most people.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Apple steps out on stage and they put Sundar Pichai on a giant monitor above Tim Cook, 1984 style, and says, here he is saving Apple. Gemini is replacing everything on device that's Apple Intelligence, and everyone boos them or whatever and throws tomatoes on the stage. I don't know. But I think the more realistic answer is Apple's going to keep doing what it always does best, and that's have a vertically integrated ecosystem focused on privacy and security. And anyone telling you otherwise it's just nonsense.
I think you're right, but obviously we'll have to see over the long term. Yeah. I keep saying that often when I'm talking to you, I'm going to admit that I'm asking you questions because I'm personally interested, which is possibly an abuse of the entire podcast system. But there are also aspects where I know you know so much more than me because I have had 35 minutes exposure to something and you've had more than a year. Yeah, I think you know what we're talking about here. Apple Vision Pro.
I know the puzzle app in Apple News.
All right, throw in Apple Card as well. Why not? Fine. Uh-huh. Apple Vision Pro. You've written a new review about the new version, the M5, and where I am ecstatic about the M5 iPad Pro, I don't think you're quite as thrilled. So what's going on with the Apple Vision Pro?
Okay, so I can see how you might think that because I am as excited and infatuated with the Apple Vision Pro as I have ever been. It's there's no exaggeration of every time I put it on, it still feels like magic. It doesn't, my brain doesn't process. It's like, I can't believe that this is something I can do with a computer right now. I'm placing these digital objects into the real world and viewing them in a way that is impossible with any other device. It is fascinating. And that holds true with the M5 Apple Vision Pro. The reason why the headline and the story might come off a little bit more negative is because as magnificent as this hardware is, as a 5 out of 5 for me, Mike argues with that because it's of the price, but then my argument is go look at how much a Mac costs in 1980. But in any case, this is a preview of what is to come. It is an expensive product because of the technology in use here. So while it is expensive, I'm not dinging it for the price. If you can't afford it, I'm sorry, that's terrible. I barely can afford it. So I understand, but it is one of those things that I'm not going to knock Apple on the fact that they chased something. Now, if it was $20,000, we'd be having a different conversation, but this is still less than a Pro Display XDR. This is still less than a Mac Pro. There's so many things Apple sells that are egregiously more expensive and honestly less useful, if I had to say. So, moving on, the review focuses on the single problem with the ecosystem, because what were the complaints when Apple Vision Pro came out? Price. All right, we're never going to get past that.
Yeah.
It's $3,500. Sorry. Wait, Apple more or less solved that with this. If you like the Solo band, great, problem already solved. But I liked the Solo knit, and I really like this dual knit band. I hate things on the top of my head, but the way this works and the surface area that it's using is excellent. We can talk about that in a second. So then what else? There's not enough to watch. There's not enough media. Well, that's increasingly less an issue. I know it's still, I made the joke in the review, this isn't Lord of the Rings trilogy extended edition level of content, right? You don't need, but you can still lose an entire evening watching everything available in immersive video. And I actually have a second piece. Go ahead.
Right. I was thinking just the one evening. Because this has been, well, you said about complaints, that was the biggest. Price aside, that's right from the start. Your thing has been about a lack of content. And I know we keep talking about new things that come on, and mostly because that's rare. But it's now you're happy enough with what's there?
I'm getting there. So, because media is separate from apps. So we'll talk about apps in a second. So as far as media goes, I have a second article discussing an event Apple held for developers and content producers. There's about 10 hours worth of YouTube video on the developer website for this, where they basically go into huge depth and detail on what is spatial computing, what is immersive video, and all of this stuff. And it was really fun. I didn't watch all of it, but it was really interesting tidbits here and there. They even talked about like how they planned and filmed Submerged and stuff like that. They discussed like how they positioned the camera for the rhinos walking by in the wild episode, which is incredible because I mean they walk right past it and thankfully do not destroy the $33,000 camera.
Yes,
because they are rhinos. But so the whole thing is very interesting. But the takeaway that I took from that was, first of all, it's an auditorium full of people. The turnout was excellent. People are itching to make immersive video. The problem that Apple solved with this keynote event that I didn't even consider before, but should have been obvious. The reason why we've had so little immersive content, why Apple is the only one in the game, is because there's like one camera that can do it, right? You need a $33,000 at the time prototype, now released Blackmagic camera with two 8K lenses capable of intensive software level calibration and vibrational like motor changes that keep them completely in sync during filming. Like this is an incredible piece of hardware. And you need a bunch of them. Well, Apple has like 2, and then they had 3, and then they had 5. And now there's enough on the market because it's rentable, it's sellable, that individual studios can actually get a hold of them. So you can now actually produce, as a studio, spatial content. But that's only part 1 of 3. You also need a development pipeline, which did not exist, now exists, right? What's that Premiere DaVinci thing, right?
DaVinci Resolve,
Yes, that supports immersive video editing. Now, there are multiple apps that do this. Apple's own ecosystem has evolved there, and the endpoint distribution now supports Apple Immersive Video. Vimeo supports immersive video, and Apple itself, and there's ways to get it done. Apple actually, during this 10-hour thing, discussed creating and hosting your own content and distributing it to users. And again, developers distributing this content through apps as well. So that ecosystem did not exist 6 months ago, let alone 2 years ago. So it is changing, and we are getting more and more immersive video. And now Apple's giving us basketball games, right? Soon, Lakers courtside. And I think it's just going to evolve from there. So 2026, I think, is going to be the first year we actually see not just Apple, but third parties and a regular rollout schedule of media. So I am completely confident there, and I'm happy with what they're doing. So no complaints. So what is my singular issue with Apple Vision Pro? I think they've checked every box that they can check today, except for developer relations.
Okay. They have relatives who are developers and they're not talking to them. Mm-hmm. We've all had things like that. Thanksgiving's coming, yes. Okay.
No, so Apple has a problem, and it's a problem we've known about since before Apple Vision Pro launched. When they announced this product nearly 4 years ago. No, 3 years ago. What is time? 23. Yeah, so they announced it nearly 3 years ago. The moment it was announced, the first thing I heard from developers was, who's going to build for this? And then when we heard the price, they said, who's going to build for this? Nobody is going to, very few people are going to own this device. So why do we care? And then we heard someone, I think it was Widget Smith's, David Smith, right? And he said that he developed Widget Smith for Apple Vision Pro, and I think he made $40, right? This is one of the most popular apps on the App Store. I'm exaggerating in some direction. I don't know what. It could have been $400. Whatever it wasn't enough, right? The time it took for him to make the app and get it onto natively to Apple Vision Pro that in a way that worked and looked good, he didn't make any of his money back. He made 1 hour of his efforts and money back, right? And that is the case for most Vision Pro developers. Every minute they spend on an app for Apple Vision Pro is money they're setting on fire. And there is no clear solution to that. Apple needs to incentivize developers. I don't know if it's a payment program. I don't know if they just need to back up trucks. But there are not enough users. Yes. There are not enough users to justify building for this platform. Though Apple needs apps to justify the platform's existence. It's a chicken and egg problem.
Sure.
But guess who has all the money?
Developers. No. Can I have one more guess?
So Apple...
Customers.
Is in a position of power.
Yeah.
Yes. To fix this.
Yeah.
And the only way to fix this is to spend a bunch of money. I don't think they need to buy anyone. Some people have said acquire studios. I don't think that's necessary. Just start backing up the truck to different places. Go to Meta. Say, what billions of dollars of money do you need from us to get your... Because Meta did this thing a couple of years ago where they bought every studio. That's why there's no Meta games that are available on MetaQuest on Apple Vision Pro, because Meta owns all of them and they don't want to help Apple. Apple needs to go and say, look, what do we got to do? All right, without suing you, what do we got to do to get these games on our platform? Name a price, because I'm sure it's affordable. Apple has all the money. Go to the other studios. Hey, you made an excellent VR game. Go to Bethesda. Go to Capcom and get Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Get all the Resident Evil VRs. Get them working on your platform. Spend all the money you have to. Make people see what's possible on Apple Vision Pro, promote the heck out of it, and move some consoles. Because there are people out there with $3,500 who have not spent it on an Apple Vision Pro. Make them want it. Go to productivity suites that aren't OmniFocus and convince them to build for Apple Vision Pro. Right? Get that, put that work in, put that money in, invest in that side of things, make it worthwhile for developers, and then I think the final checkbox that needs to happen to make this a truly successful product will finally be checked, and we can move on with our lives.
This episode is brought to you by Nordstella. Nordstella is a threat exposure management platform for businesses. It detects cyber threats against your company and it helps you take control before they escalate. Nordstella can monitor the dark web to uncover targeted attacks against your firm, your brand, or your executives. Its attack surface management finds external vulnerabilities before attackers exploit them. For C-level managers, it provides faster detection and prioritization. It offers real-time visibility of risks, and it also strengthens a firm's compliance posture. For your company's security teams, Nordstella can provide contextualized insights. It can track adversaries, and it can provide malware logs. For your whole company, using Nordstella means safeguarding both employees and customers from phishing, identity abuse, or account takeovers. Made by the team behind NordVPN, Nordstella is about proactive protection. Don't wait until your company's data is already for sale on the dark web. Protect your business today with Nordstella. Nordstella has flexible plans that scale with your business size, and right now you can get the exclusive Black Friday offer. Unlock your 20% discount on Nordstella with the coupon code BlackFriday20. Go to nordstella.com/AppleInsider. That's nordstella.com/AppleInsider and use that coupon code BlackFriday20, or lowercase Black Friday and the digits 20. The offer only lasts until December 10, 2025. So you go there now while I say thanks to Nordstella for supporting the Apple Insider podcast. This episode is brought to you by Udacity. Wes and I talk often in Apple Insider about the AI bubble and what's real, what's hype. And Udacity, it's about the real. It's about teaching you actual skills that you can use when so much of what we keep hearing about AI is just that it means companies are laying off staff. Udacity is an online learning platform that has true experts teaching you what you do need to know and explaining only what matters, only what you can use. You're going to find out what it teaches about AI and apply it in your work. Plus, you're going to find yourself drawn to much more. For example, I'm following a completely different thing. I'm following a digital marketing course on Udacity, and while that actually is the topic I need, and this is where I'm spending my time, I know that its AI courses are working exactly the same way because it's got true experts. They have actual skills to teach you. And if there is one thing that particularly singles out Udacity, it's that you are never just passively sitting there nodding away at a video. Instead, Udacity has you doing practical exercises. It has you working on real projects that prepare you for the work you want to do. I don't learn very well actually when it's just a list of facts to read or something. I need to learn by doing. That is my goal, and 90% of Udacity graduates say they achieve their enrollment goals. Udacity gets you the skills that get you better jobs, that get you better salaries. Udacity just launched a master's degree in AI, a true master's degree for under $5,000. It's a fraction of the cost of traditional degree programs, and it comes with so much more flexibility. The tech field is always evolving, and you should be too. You can try Udacity risk-free for 7 days. Head to udacity.com/AppleInsider and use the code AppleInsider for 40% off your order. Once again, that's udacity.com/AppleInsider for 40% off. And make sure you use my promo code AppleInsider so they know I sent you. And thank you to Udacity for supporting the Apple Insider podcast. An important point to mention there, because you did raise it, Omni Outliner 6 for Apple Vision Pro is in public beta as of this week. Also for the Mac and the iPhone and the iPad. And I don't have an Apple Vision Pro, but I grabbed it instantly for all the rest of them. And also, I'm sorry to say, I think there is something else you missed, which is it's over for the Apple Vision Pro, because there isn't there, I keep getting the name wrong, the Samsung Galaxy XR or something. That's the new thing. That's going to win. Apple might as well give up, go home. Am I wide of the mark there?
The one thing the Galaxy XR does for the Apple Vision Pro is it validates almost every decision Apple made for Apple Vision Pro. The external battery pack, the hand gestures, The external controllers for the Galaxy XR are also $250, right? The carrying case is also $250, which I find very funny that a carrying case is the same value as controllers. But anyway,
Right. Yes.
Apple has nothing to worry about. So the Galaxy XR is interesting as a thing, but I've been reading a lot of people's testimonials, reviews of using this product, and it's just not there.
No.
The thing it has going for it is Android, but honestly, Apple Vision Pro has iPad, so I think that's comparable. Most of Android apps running on Samsung Galaxy XR are going to run the same way iPad apps can on Apple Vision Pro, and Apple Vision Pro does have 1 million apps available, so it's not like there's any shortage of that. The problem with Apple Vision Pro is they only have 3,000 native apps, which is not much. Galaxy XR, on the other hand, doesn't really have anything native because who's building for that platform? It's an $1,800 Android device. It connects to a Samsung laptop, not Windows in general, for a desktop mode. And things aren't going to run as sharply or as smoothly. The refresh rate is something like 72 hertz. And while it has displays that are as high resolution as Apple Vision Pro, the processor cannot run it because the processor is weaker than the iPhone 11, I think. It's not a great processor. But it is a headset that works. It turns on, it does things. It gets very hot, and the fans run very loudly. And from what I can tell, media's fine. But again, once you turn a movie on, you're just listening to fans running the whole time.
Right.
Comfort-wise, though, apparently it's nice because it is a few ounces lighter. But yeah, it's a fine attempt. But again, it validates everything Apple's doing here. And I think that's the most interesting thing about the product.
Okay, let's just pause for a moment to reflect. The summary of your review is it turns on. That's, yeah. Okay.
They did it.
That's, yeah, yay. Okay. I'm obviously never going to buy one.
No Apple owner is going to buy one of these. Is it the people who say, does Apple have to be worried? It's like, okay. It is, it's
yes.
no person on there. Find me the human. I'm sure a listener out there will write me and tell me that, and fine, sure, you're the guy. But find me a human being who is actually an Apple user or an Android user sweating the choice between these two devices. I just don't know. Like, if you're an Apple user and you have the money, you're going to buy Apple Vision Pro. If you're an Android user and you have the money, you're going to buy a Meta Quest, maybe a Galaxy XR. Why would you buy that Galaxy XR? I don't know, but sure, go for it. But if you're an Apple user and don't have the money, you'll buy a Meta Quest. There's no reason why, Apple users are not concerned with the Galaxy XR. It exists. It validates the product. That's the end of the story for Apple users.
Okay, I'm picturing a Venn diagram of overlapping needs, and they don't overlap at all. Okay. Speaking of needs, then, I said right at the very top that I was genuinely excited about the smallest little whisper of a chance of a rumour, and it's about the iPad, which ordinarily is your thing, but I'm now an M5 iPad Pro user. I'm in all of this. And in fact, I re-upped my subscription to Final Cut Pro when I bought the iPad, and I am having such a good time just racing through videos. In fact, actually, there's a set of videos I do in one place. I now shoot them on Final Cut camera directly into Final Cut Pro on the iPad. I edit them while I'm there on location, and I don't upload them yet from there because it's cold. It's in a shed. I need tea. But otherwise, I could do everything. Absolutely, totally love it. Well worth Final Cut Pro's £50 in my case a year for it. However, I do fancy a Logic Pro, but not enough to spend another £50 a year, and I really, really got excited the other week. In fact, it was only last week when we heard this first chance that maybe Pixelmator Pro will be coming, which is a long-held ambition for both of us. But then also, I don't know why I never thought of this before, Apple's Motion, which, if you don't know, is this generator that's just fantastic for titles and sequences in Final Cut Pro. That could be coming. Compressor, which is also for Final Cut Pro, and between you and me, I've never fully understood what it does, but it looks nice. And then Main Stage for Logic Pro. All of these things we talked about last week because there were just these rumours that they were coming to the App Store based on the flimsiest little thing that some code had been spotted that quite suggested it. And then this week, something else happened. Now, like I said earlier, I haven't updated the betas, and even when I do, I don't go digging around in the codes. But you know about this, don't you? You know about Apple Creator Studio. Is it going to excite me?
Nobody knows what this is. It's a line of text somewhere in code. We don't even know where the. So Aaron Paris, he's a contributor to Mac Rumors, I believe, found this. Usually one of pretty good code sleeves. One of the ones that usually pops up first with information about tidbits they find in betas. So usually a good follow. I think they're only active on X, but I might be mistaken. But yes, found a reference. Didn't tell us where the reference was because that might have given a hint. But only that Apple Creator Studio exists as a word phrase used in the beta. It could mean anything. I listed a few of my theories. It could be a rename of Pixelmator Pro. It could be a subscription service that includes a bundle of apps. Apple already charges a $50 a year subscription to Logic and Final Cut individually. So a bundle might be interesting. What if you could pay so much per month or so much per year to access Pixelmator Pro, Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, and these other ancillary video editing apps, Motion Compressor, all on your iPad, which sounds like it's what's coming because all those apps identifiers showed up in the App Store as well. So I'm leaning towards subscription bundle. I'm afraid to know what it costs. I believe Adobe's is like $70 a month or something crazy. It's ungodly, but
Suddenly I'm thinking $50 a year for Logic Pro. Why didn't I just do that? That's like not very much a month either, but that's how they get you with subscriptions. $5, thank you. Yes,
So,
okay, well, ish.
Well, they cut it. They give you a deal if you get an annual subscription. But I don't need all those things. But so this is complicated. If Pixelmator Pro launches on iPad and it's subscription only, I will give them all of my money. I don't care. That app is I love that app. As part of my Apple Vision Pro review, I tested Mac Virtual Display. I edited all of my new photos of the Apple Vision Pro in Pixelmator Pro through Mac Virtual Display. It was perfect. I love it. It is true. Mac Virtual Display does look better in the M5 Apple Vision Pro. But I want it to be native. I would love to see it native on Apple Vision Pro as well. But I would love it on my iPad. Honestly, if this comes to iPad, I don't know what my Mac is for anymore, other than it being like a server. Maybe it could maybe you know what it can do, William, that iPad still struggles with? It can be a GameCube emulator. Yeah, because okay. I ran a GameCube emulator. I don't know how they're doing this because it still doesn't have JIT, just in time translation. It doesn't have JIT, but someone got a GameCube emulator running without JIT, but you miss every third frame, so it is awful. But they're getting there. It's impressive that it turns on at all. So I'm very excited for the future of emulating GameCube on an iPad. But yes, I don't know what my Mac Mini is for without Pixelmator Pro.
This is becoming it turns on episode.
It does.
I'm not even fully sure what a GameCube is. But let's just leave me in my ignorance.
One of the most failed consoles.
I know what all of those words mean.
Yes.
Of course you'd want a Mac for that. All those things a Mac can do, you want to emulate a failed
by Nintendo standards. It was an amazing, amazing console with a lot of games, but it did not sell, funny enough. That's a different podcast. Okay. Apple Creator Studio. I really don't know what this is. I'm just speculating here. Everyone's leaning towards the subscription bundle thing. But then I'm like, I pay for Apple One already. That is $40 a month out of my pocket to Apple already.
Yeah.
It would be nice to see like a bonus bundle. Like you can do Apple One Plus Studio or something and pay hopefully not $100 a month. It's getting a little scary. Because to put it a different way, $70 a month for Adobe for the people that need it is probably worth it, right? It comes with Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, Acrobat Pro, InDesign, and 20 other apps for $70 a month.
Yeah, if you use them, absolutely, it's great. Well, great's a strong word for it. I used to have an Adobe prescription. Yes.
Well, you know what I can buy for $70 a month? I can buy an entire video game, brand new, once a month. You know what? Like it's just a stunning amount of money. You can go out for a very nice dinner once a month for $70. It is a lot and a little at the same time. I understand, like, it depends on your income and everything, but that is a significant chunk of change to automatically dedicate. That is a water bill. That is half of an electric bill. That is a lot of money. Obviously for Adobe. I don't think Apple's going to charge $70 because they don't have 27 apps to put in their bundle, but it's not going to be $10. No. So,
something actually that should come out, it's kind of semi-related. Last week, my excitement was about Affinity, mostly relief more than excitement, and it's worked out well. Today, we learned that 1 million people have signed up for Affinity since its new launch, so that's very good for them. Part of Affinity, I don't know what to call them now, it's just one app, but what used to be Affinity Photo. I've said before, actually quite often whenever Pixelmator Pro comes out, Affinity Photo is on the iPad still. I've always found it incomprehensible compared to Pixelmator. But this week I needed to do something reasonably complex. Only had my iPad with me. And actually I didn't even have Photomator installed or whatever the Pixelmator's cheap version is called. So I had to use it. I had to use Affinity Photo because it was there. And I found some of it is really, really impressive. So nice. Once you are required to use something, there's some lovely selection tool options. I was so impressed with it. I should look at it more. Well, I'm an Affinity publisher fanatic. In fact, the moment you and I finished talking today, all of us speaking, I'm going back into a charity magazine where I've been laying out this really, really pernickety publication, and I'm having such a good time with it. That's my evening. And actually, that sounds bad when you put it like that. I'll eat first, but yeah. So I always find this, once you have a requirement, I'm rubbish at, I want to learn how to use this. I need to do that. This app will do it. I can work it out. It's great. I'm surprised that I haven't hit too many limits on the side of Final Cut Pro, although I've hit some. Things like motion, things like compressor, I imagine, would help with that. So I'm going to be crossing my fingers, and I realise saying this, I am waiting to pay Apple more money. How do they do this to us? How?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly was not paying for much Apple Care, and now I have an Apple Care One? Is that what it is? Apple Care One subscription. So
the bundle, yeah.
And so that's $20 a month, and then $40 a month for Apple One, and now $25 a month for Creator Studio.
Yes.
Man,
okay.
Apple, what are you? They are making all the money. They're making all the money.
Yeah, but are they happy? I actually have Apple Care for the first time ever because of the monthly payment. I got it for my M5 iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil Pro and the Magic Keyboard. I got the lot together. So, yeah, for £8, I think I'm paying with $8.99, something like this. I do want to get to some things towards the end of the show because we have some really nice reviews that have come in from people. But just very briefly, speaking of services that Apple does, Apple TV Plus dropped the Plus a few weeks ago. It's now quite slowly rolling out a new rebrand. And the fantastic thing about it, just delighted me so much, is there's a 5-second long sting. You know, you had the sonorous booming note, and then the Apple TV in white with a light. Now it's more musical, it's in color, and it's real. It's not a digital recreation even. It was shot in a studio with actual glass, and the light playing across the glass is a man on a stand moving a light across. I adore that they've done this, and it actually makes me want to watch that 5 seconds again. Are you impressed as well, or? So interesting, but do you think, why don't they just do it in, like Pixelmator? What's the matter with them? No?
I mean, you could fake it, but I like that it's real. It's fun. Apple does this kind of stuff. I'm sure they just kind of wondered, like, can we do this? I'm sure this started out as a sketch. It probably even made it to an animated portion, but then Apple's like, no, we can do better. I mean, is the HBO logo a fuzzy TV? I don't know. Maybe we should ask.
Oh, good point. It's funny. It's a lot of history in practical things. Like the BBC is famous. It used to have a hot air balloon floating over the country. BBC's always had a globe logo of some form, and they, for years and years, the late 90s up to 2000, they had a gorgeous hot air balloon floating over famous UK locations. So all these kind of things. So I like physical. It's good.
How many hours or minutes did Phineas spend developing that sound, and how much was he paid for it? That's my question.
All right, how about we contrast that to how many, literally millions of times is that 5 seconds going to be played over the next few years? So the per use time, whatever it was worth it.
It's just a note held and then like filtered, right? And it's Billie Eilish's brother, Phineas, got to develop the audio that we're going to hear a million times on.
Oh right, I didn't
Apple
realize
TV.
that. Oh yeah,
yeah. So Phineas is so if you ever listen to Billie Eilish and all the wong sounds, and that's Phineas. They work together on their music. So yeah, he did the Apple TV logo, and that's cool. I wonder how long it made for him to make it, and how many millions of dollars he probably made doing it.
Well, let's not forget, it's not how long did it take to do it, it's how long did he get to the stage where he was able to do it. So years of music training and things.
Fully deserved. It's just it's just amusing.
Yeah. You've put it in my head now. I seem to remember reading that someone famous did Intel's 5 notes thing, and it is by far the most lucrative 5 notes in their entire musical career. I wonder if they get paid per use. Can you imagine how many? I'll take a fraction of a cent per use for the next 10 years of 1 billion plays of that. We're in the wrong business here.
The You Got Mail guy didn't get paid anything for that, right? Or got paid one time for that, some $20, and then never got another dollar. And
then Ray Cusick didn't get paid much because he was on staff at the BBC when he designed the Daleks. Look at that. We're going off on one here. How about we pull it all back? No. Yeah.
Do you ever wonder why there's so many Tony Hawk Pro Skater games?
I do. I've vaguely heard of that. Wait a minute. There's more than one?
Oh, no? There's so many. The reason is because at the very beginning, he was offered some $1 million, right? He's a pro skateboarder. He'd already made his money, and he was making a video game franchise with his name glued to it. And they were like, oh, we'll just pay you for your name. $1 million. And he realized, if they're willing to give me $1 million just for my name, how much could I earn? So he kept his rights and has
I see.
Formed an empire. So remember, kids, own your stuff. Get paid for it, right?
Yeah.
Never settle for the small, because if they're willing to give you that much money for it, what can you make off of it? That's the question. But yes, let's close up.
Well, yes, because I was going to say George Lucas did the same thing with Star Wars, but we could keep going on like this, and we need to stop because we need to give room. I think while you were away actually doing that, that small getting married thing, I skipped over reviews because I didn't see any. And there's one you got today that was sent directly to you and me, and I didn't see it until you told me. So there's something wrong somewhere. Can you please read out to me any reviews as long as they're good?
Oh, well, they're all good. There's actually no bad ones to read. Actually, while we're talking, I'm going to go look one more time to see if there's any.
Yeah, no, there's no need. What if you find a bad one now? Ruin my day.
That would actually be very funny if there was a bad one there now.
It would. It'd be worth it. Okay.
So I got an email from Joseph congratulating me on my wedding. Thank you very much. And congratulating you, William, on your re-election, by the way.
Thank you enormously. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine anyone else doing the job, honestly. So let's see. They asked, and this is a good question, ExxonMobil being in CarPlay. I agree, because I am this bad about it. I will go out of my way to find an Exxon gas station when I am driving, because I get to pull up to the pump. I pull up my phone, open the Exxon app, tell it which pump I'm at, and hit pay. And then I get out of the car and pump my gas, and I'm done. It is so much easier than the convoluted nonsense. Do you want a car wash? Here's an ad. Sign up for our gas tickets. Nope, just pay and go. It's so nice. Well, why is it not in CarPlay? This is a feature Apple added, that you can do those kinds of transactions from CarPlay. I believe it was teased at some point that you could even do it like a McDonald's order and pick up through CarPlay, which no one has ever bothered. Like, no one's implemented that, but I guess it's possible using the APIs. I don't know. Exxon said in a review he left, told him they're working on it or they're looking into it, but these big companies, they just don't care. It's the problem we were discussing earlier with reminders and stuff. If the app turns on and it works and it gets on the other devices, that's their job is done. The nitpicky little features that are ecosystem specific, they don't care about. We're lucky that it functions at all, honestly. So as much as I hate it, that I'm glad that we have the Exxon app, but I don't see it happening unless Apple pushes for it for some advertising campaign or something.
I have not one thin clue if there's anything like that here, because I pull up at the petrol station, look at that, petrol instead of gas. I get out.
BP, British Petroleum?
Use Apple Watch. Yeah, we're not proud of that one, but okay, there is that. I use my Apple Watch to pay at the not terminal. What's it called? The petrol dispenserizer, or whatever that's called. The pump. Yeah. There you go. Petrol dispenserizer. Where am I going? I just pay for that with a watch, get in the car, and go on again. I've never opened an app. I've paid for car parking through CarPlay.
Sure.
I tried to impress my mom once. Take her somewhere, saying, one moment here, and she wasn't looking. Didn't care.
So, do you know something I have done that's very funny? I ordered a pizza from Papa John's on my Apple TV before.
Okay, I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, I don't know if the app is still in service, but that was a feature when it first launched. I don't know. So my dream, this is what I want. This gets back to our extensibility discussion, and then we can wrap up.
Yeah,
I would love to be in Apple Maps on CarPlay and say I'm going somewhere, and then hit add a stop, and then it suggests like it knows that I have the Exxon app installed, and it pops up with Exxon, and then it's like pump number 4 is open. You pull in, and it says, and it's just like, all right, would you like to pay? And you just hit okay. I don't know how it authenticates. I'm assuming because you're in CarPlay in your own car that it's fine. I don't think it would need like an additional passcode or something, and then you just get out and pump your gas, right? Like, it should just work from Apple Maps as an extension within Apple Maps. I shouldn't even have to open the Exxon app. That would be the next step. If I was Apple, even if it wasn't through CarPlay, why can't I get those kinds of things inside of Apple Maps? You can do booking.com. You can do parking things. Gas stations should be the next one. And, there's this one app in the United States that's popular called Gas Buddy. It lets you compare prices nearby. That should just be built into Apple Maps, or I should be able to extensibility it like into Apple Maps, so that again I don't need to go to a separate app and open it. Another app I've used recently is what is it? Travel Weather or something like that. It's a map app that is weather on the way. That's the name of the app. On the way. It's a very good app, and it shows you the weather of your trip as it's occurring. So like, if it's not raining now, but it's going to rain by the time you get there, you now know on your trip, or you can plan your trip around bad weather or use routing to go around the bad weather. So that should be an extension I can add to Apple Maps, right? I love that these developers spent time building their own UI, but really it should just plug into Apple Maps and let me add the feature to the app. But I digress. We have 2 reviews we're going to read today.
Oh, yeah. I've got to say, you need bigger dreams, I think, than petrol station pump systems. But I'm with you there. Yeah.
Small needs as a human being that likes technology. And it's all I want. Beat Saber on Apple Vision Pro and Minecraft. So Galactic Toast. It's an excellent name. 5 stars, best Apple podcast. Great show as always. Congrats on the wedding. Thank you.
Yay.
They said we forgot Apple Watch also got OLED when we were talking about iPad getting OLED and Macs eventually getting OLED. And I agree. I think we completely glazed over the fact that Apple Watch was the first Apple product with OLED. So thank you for that.
I think I'd forgotten that until right now that it had it at all. But okay.
I mean,
it's a very small OLED screen. Yeah, true. Counts. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I finally bit the bullet and got an OLED television last year, so loving that. Yeah, so from the tiny little Apple Watch, the largest screen in my home. So developer's nickname is the name of a person who left a 5-star review. Great Apple Insight. The podcast is amazing. The second it comes out every week, I listen to it as fast as possible. And when do we think the M5 Mac Mini will be released? So my answer to that is spring. I think we're getting all the M5 stuff in the spring. Thanks for making this podcast every week. It's a highlight of my week. And they said they are another young listener, which is fun. So thank you for that kind review.
Yeah, I like it, except I'm you know what I'm like. I'm pausing over the listen to it as fast as possible. It's like 10 times normal speed, get it out of the way kind of thing. I'm sure that's not what was meant, and I'm just going to be grateful for it. Okay.
Plain semantics.
If I'm wrong, then people can reach me and say very hurriedly at william@appleinsider.com how fast do you listen to the show. How can people reach you if they want to talk about their dreams?
See, 1.3x is fine because it's almost human speech.
But
once you get to 1.5x, your ears have to adjust to it. Look, I want to defend...
If the show is improved by going faster, then push the unsubscribe button.
That's fair.
Okay.
I agree.
That's what it's for.
But I am going to defend it because I normally listen at 1x. That's my default. But I did not listen to any podcasts on my honeymoon. So I had a week's worth of podcasts to listen to. So I caught up by listening at 1.5x. That's the only time I ever done it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're allowed to skip episodes, you know.
I like them. I need to hear them all, William. How else will I know?
Okay, true.
Yes, you can find me on Blue Sky, hilly.tech. I'm also on Mastodon, hillytech, and you can email me, wes@appleinsider.com. Always happy to hear from you guys. Of course, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We will read it. And if you guys have any questions, it doesn't have to just be a review. We've been getting a lot of questions lately. I was asked about M6 getting OLED in a redesign versus M6 Pro and Max. Sent them a reply to that and had questions about technical issues and stuff like that. So feel free to email questions. If it's pertinent to the show, we will bring it up here as well. But yes, feel free to reach out and talk to us. We're happy to hear from you guys.
I should say at this point, if you're a subscriber, then in just a moment, AppleInsider Plus is on, and I feel we've kind of given away that Wes's first media consumption after work is podcasts, but you never know, mine might be something different. It's a book, but okay. That's come up in a moment if you are a subscriber, and if you're not, then please notice in the description every week you'll see the show notes even, you will see how to subscribe through Patreon or through Apple Podcasts subscriptions. How many times can you say subscriptions in one sentence? Say it one more time while you're applying for it, while you're joining it, and it'd be nice to have you after the break for the ad-free extended version. But in the meantime, thank you for listening. Thank you to our sponsors, Claude by Anthropic, Nordstella by Nord Security, and Udacity. Also, thank you to Wes for answering all of my personal questions yet again, and we'll be back to answer more this time next week.
Talk then.